Hello and welcome to another episode of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at Dynasty Dad FF, joined as always by my main man at FF Snoog. And you guys can see I'm dressed all in black because a lot of your Dynasty teams are in mourning right now. You know, you guys are 5-4 and you just lost Jaden Daniels, or you're 6-3, but your team's decimated by injuries, or you're at a point where you realize, you know what? I'm not going to be a playoff team. I got to start selling the chips in. And it's always better to be one step ahead than one step behind, Snoog, because when I first started out doing this in fantasy, you know, I went from redraft to dynasty, and I was like, let me just give my 26 first for Devontae Adams. That'll keep me afloat. And then the next thing that happens is that goes from 108, 109, all the way down to 102, 103, and I miss out on a Marion Hampton. I miss out on a Quinshon Judkins, one of these elite level prospects, and nothing stings more than just being too late to the game.
Yeah, I have a few teams where I basically missed out, right? Like I had Joe Burrow, Marion Hampton, Garrett Wilson, Malik Neighbors, all these, Mike Evans, Tyreek Hill, superstar young core, great veterans kind of paired up with them, and the whole entire team got injured, right? And I traded my 26 first before the season started, thinking this is the best team in the league by far. I'm going to win this thing, where at least make it top two, where I don't care about getting rid of 111, right? And I can go get Tyreek Hill and Mike Evans. I did that, messed up. Team's 2-6. I don't have my 26 first, and I can't get it back because the guy's rebuilding, and he wants none of my pieces other than Neighbors. I'm at the point where, like, this is dead. I'm selling for 27, right? Like, I'm not going to get caught holding Devontae Adams on my team when I'm ready to really contend in 2027. Then I'm absolutely screwed because I already have 327 first. I've had it before the season. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to position my team in the position to sell off bets that are just not going to be on my team in 2 years. Go get 27 picks, miss out on Jeremiah Love this year, but get Jeremiah Smith in 2027. And I also have teams where it's vice versa. I'm awful. I'm clearly the 101 this year. And my build is all in on 2027, where I'm going to tank for Jeremiah Love, Jeremiah Smith, and then contend in 2028. So it's all about adjusting, but don't get caught holding bets on your team and basically losing out on getting that midseason value for them just because you don't have your 26 first. If the team sucks, the team sucks. Strip it down, build out for 2027.
And this is something we specialize. This is something I came up with 5 years ago. We have a 95% chance of making the playoffs within 2 years. Throughout this process, I've done it with hundreds of dynasty managers. So check it out there, patreon.com/smashaccept. Right now, if you use for daylight savings code DAY25, you'll get 25% off your yearly. Hit us up in there. But Snoog, you hit it right there. It's like we're looking at two Jeremiahs here. We got Jeremiah Love, 2026 101. Jeremiah Smith, 2027 101. There's really not a lot of debate out there. These are two blue chippers. I mean, you look at Love, he's going to be a top 4 dynasty running back day one. You know, I would think he's, depending on what Genty does, you could argue he could move up to RB3 if his landing spot is good. And Jeremiah Smith, good God, we are going to probably see him as a top 3 dynasty wide receiver day one. And that's crazy to say, but this is a Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones, can't miss type prospect that you're going to get in 2027. And Snoog, you know, we look at this. If you start to tear down now, this is the only time you're able to buy 27 first. The day the season ends, they go up in value. The day the season ends, 2026 picks go up in value. But right now, everybody wants that money, right? Everybody's chasing that bag. Everybody wants to win. So they're willing to go out there and they're say, you know what? I'm okay paying my 26 first for Cortland Sutton in a third. I'm okay paying my 26 first for Rico Dowdle or Javonte Williams. I'm okay doing these things. But once we get into the offseason, that disappears. So now is your time. If you guys are starting to rebuild, if you're not looking good, here is our process. So let's take a look at this real quick. Snoog, step 1, we're looking at rebuilding process, honestly assessing your roster. So we look at things like core player age, foundational assets, overall max points for. How do you assess a team right now and say, you know what? Does record matter? Does injuries matter? How do you go about telling a guy it's better now to rebuild today than it is to try to figure that out in February?
Yeah, so the way I look at it, injuries definitely matter, but it depends on the injuries, right? If it's Malik Neighbors, Joe Burrow, and Jaden Daniels, I'm like, all right, like they're not coming back this year. You're in a situation where your best players are hurt. You'd have to discount, sell them like crazy to get any sort of contending pieces for them, most likely. But if you have Bucky Irving, Garrett Wilson, and these guys, Hampton, right, that are back within 1 to 2 weeks, I was just looking at Bucky Irvin and Garrett Wilson's schedules, Dad. Like, they're ready to smash when they get back with absolute cupcake schedules. That is like the determining factor for me, where I'm like, okay, I actually think I can make a run the second half of the season. But with these other guys that are done for the year, I'm probably screwed, right? So I kind of look at that. I like to look at, do I have enough maybe draft capital? Maybe I'm like a 500 team. I have some injuries, but I have a couple extra firsts, couple extra picks. And the best thing, Dad, is looking at your team. Are there a couple of contenders that are below 500 that are struggling like myself that want to rip it down, that I could go buy Devontae Adams off, that I can go buy Josh Jacobs off, that I could buy, 3 or 4 starters with one deal, right? Throw them a first in a couple of seconds, get Jacobs, Adams, and Sutton. Now I have 3 starters that I can plug and play. So it's all about kind of addressing your team, the injuries on your team, and kind of where you're sitting, why your team's doing bad in the first place. Then looking at the rest of the league, because you kind of have to gauge. Every league's different. We talk about that on the show all the time, but understanding that players are falling off and teams are falling off, and you can capitalize on them being desperate.
And there's the link again. I have daily people like, Dad, am I an all-in contender? And if so, what kind of move should I make? Am I a rebuilding team? And if so, what move should I make? And there's your link there again. But I mean, Snoog, I think a lot of people, I'll go out there and I'll try to assess what a 26 first is, what a 27 first is. And people are like, Dad, why do you try to assess that? Like, why do you think you know that? I have seen upwards of 15,000 rosters over the last 5 years. People send me it and I can look at it based on the core age of your injuries are going to happen, right? But you look at those foundational assets. If you have a Malik Neighbors as your core wide receiver, you can always tear that down into Amon-Ra plus, right? But if your core wide receiver is Nico Collins, or your core wide receiver is say Brian Thomas Jr., like, it really matters of what that core asset is, because you're not going to get as much. Where Malik Neighbors can get you 3 assets to continue your process and keep moving. The key part here is looking at that max points for. I'm going to reference Smash 18 here, where I lost Burrow. I lost all kinds of players. I looked at it last week and I was 4-4. And 4-4, you could say, well, Dad, you can go ahead and you can make the playoffs pretty easily. Then I look at it. I have my 26 first. I have my 27 first. My aging players, I mean, I had Mike Evans, I had Tyreek Hill, I had Devontae Adams, and I'm looking at this Snoog, and I love having those players, except aside from Adams, those guys are injured. Then I had guys that are underperforming, your Terry McLaurins, your DJ Moores, guys like that. So now it's like, okay, these players I love, but I'm not going to contend because these guys are not coming back. Like you mentioned, a Bucky Irving is going to come back. A Rico Dowdle, who's right now blowing up. Those guys are going to put up points for you. But those players, like Tyreek Hill, like Mike Evans, they're out. So we look at step 2 then. Step 2, arguably the most important part of this process, is to secure your 26 and your 27 first. And Snoog, I was lucky. I had 4-4. I had my 26 first, my 27 first, and everybody could look at my roster and be like, oh, well, Dad's a contender. It's not a big deal. But if I needed it, you don't want to telegraph this. You don't want to say I'm rebuilding until you get both your 26 and 27 first. I don't care about your 28 first. I really don't, because if you traded it, so what? We'll come back there. But 26 and 27, you want to secure that pick, because right now, aside from Jeremiah Love, I have about 6 guys that I would take over the 102 in 2026, at least. And I think if you compare the 2027 class and the 2025 class, we love the 2025 class. Even Molly does over there, but they're not as good as the 2027 class, in my opinion. So talk to me a little bit about how, if you don't have your first, how you can do it without really breaking the bank, because I always tell people to make an offer that's 10 to 20% more than what they would normally pay, and don't disguise it. Just say, I'll give you T. Higgins, who's worth more than that pick, for your 27 first. And then you're like, oh, wow, he's going to give me T. Higgins. I was like, I think that's a better value than what that pick is worth.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the way I like to put it right there, is really just focusing on giving players that. One thing I always do too is I try to give a player that's worth that first, and then I'll throw them another player that is just intriguing enough for them to be like, I'm not even going to think about this. I'm going to accept it, because you don't want them to be like, oh, this guy might be rebuilding now. That's why he wants his pick back. Like, you want to kind of disguise it as like, I have no choice but to accept this, even if he's rebuilding. So, like, for example, say you have a T. Higgins, right? someone that's intriguing, that's kind of popping off right now. Maybe it's a Jordan Mason or it's an Aaron Jones or just one of these running backs that's starting. Nothing crazy, but he's starting. He's probably worth a late second or maybe a mid-second. Package them up, throw them in there, and go get that first back, right? Don't give them an option to think about it. Make them accept it. But the biggest thing for me is don't get caught selling players that are young studs for a discount for no reason, right? Like,
that's the problem.
I'm not gonna
People do that. I see that everywhere.
Yeah, I'm not going to go sell Garrett Wilson for my first back. I don't care. Like, I'm not doing it. Like, I'll rather just keep the foundational asset. Unless it's the 2027 first and it's going to be Jeremiah Smith, then it's like, okay, maybe I can make some sort of exception for it. But honestly, disguising it and having backup moves ready. Like, I'm reaching out to other owners before I get my first back and saying, look, I'm interested in selling some bets. What do you got? You willing to move picks? You willing to move this guy? Do you have Tucker Kraft? Do you have some of these guys that are injured that you want to move? I'll give you Kittle. You give me Kraft. Like, let's get that done. Have deals on the back burner ready to go for when you get your first back. Then you can just bang, 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 get all those deals done before you even make your single first.
I think the key there is making that trade and not making it too obvious, but making it good enough that they don't come back with a counter, because the more a dynasty manager gets to sit on a trade, think about a trade, then they see, oh, wait a second, Snoog's about to rebuild here. I'm going to hold him over the coals, because we know that the 101 is worth 30 to 50% more than the 102. Snoog, I think the 101 is worth almost 100% more than the 102 right now. Like, I like Tyson, I like Tate, I like some of these quarterbacks like Moore, but like Jeremiah Love is a Heisman candidate at running back. This guy is putting up crazy numbers. He is going to be worth an insane amount when it gets there. So once you get your first back, now it's open season, right? This is when it's fun. This is where you just say, all right, I'm open for business. Who wants some vets? And I see a lot of dynasty managers really mess this up because they'll trade. This is my big splash trade in Smash 18. I traded A.J. Brown, James Cook, and Ollie Gordon. I didn't really want to give up Ollie Gordon, but that was the sweetener to get it done. And I want you to hit on this later, but don't give up that sweetener. And don't let a trade die because somebody wants an Ollie Gordon, because Ollie Gordon is not what's the important here. What's important here is I gave up A.J. Brown, who's a depreciating asset. He will be 29 next year. And the key to a rebuild is it takes 2 years. So we look at these guys in 2 years. What's the only player on this entire deal that's worth anything? The Garrett Wilson in the 27 first. James Cook will still be a starting running back, but he's going to be in that, 27, 28-year-old range. A.J. Brown's going to be 31 or 30, 31, and Ollie Gordon probably is not a starter anywhere. So we call this step 3, the splash trade. Because once you make this trade, your thought process of wanting to contend is out the window. And that's where this is something that I coined 5 years ago. No one else talks about it, but you've seen it before where guys are like, well, I think I'm going to rebuild. And then they win the next week. And you're like, no, I'm going back in, and it's like, you need to commit one way or another. At Smash Accept, it's top 3 or it's bottom 3. Anywhere in the middle, you're wasting your money. You're wasting your time. Snoog and I mean, 2 years ago, I was in 19 leagues and I was 101 in 2 of them. And I was top 3 in 17 of them. Last year I missed out on one of those. This year I'm on pace again to be in that same area, because you want to either be a team that's completely committed to winning or a team that's completely committed to losing, because even when you're losing in Dynasty, you're still winning. So a trade like this is how you get it done. And I know this is where you start to say, guys, I'm open for business. I need assets. I need young core assets, and I need picks.
Yeah, I love it. And I like getting foundational assets back, especially when they're injured. Like I'm telling people right now, now's a great time. Now's a great time to go get Kraft, to go get Neighbors, to go get Burrow, to go get Daniels, to get Hampton, to get some of these guys, Travis Hunter, because Dad, like you said, it's good to go into next year with some sort of a core followed by a ton of draft capital. And I have a team that I rebuilt. It's clear cut going to be the 101. It had Dak and Travion Henderson and Emeka Ibuka going into the year. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to sell Dak. I couldn't even get a first for Dak. I'm like, I'd rather keep Dak. My team's awful other than these 3 guys. I don't think, I have Dart and Aronde Gadsden who were on my taxi and just started balling out of nowhere. I thought they were going to be maybe year 2, year 3 plays. Ended up working out. Now I have 5 core assets to work around, clearly getting Jeremiah Love. I have 5 26 firsts and 7 27 firsts. Literally going into 2028, that team's going to be absolutely loaded with both Jeremiah's and a foundational core.
There's nothing better. There's no easier way to hoist up this bad boy than if you're loaded with picks and you
Yep.
move there. I mean, I did a 1-year punt this year, and I ended up. I mean, I have Jackson Dart in it. I'm like with you. I have a Rondé Gadsden. I got Tyler Warren. I got all these rookies, right? And everybody's like, but I also have 13 first-round picks in the next 3 years. And people are like, oh, Dad's team's going to be trash. Snoog, I'm 7-2. Like, but I'm sitting on a gold mine with all these picks, and I don't think a lot of you guys are new to Dynasty. You don't really understand the process of picks. And Snoog and I really hammer home process over results, because if we do it year after year after year after year with this process rather than individual players, you're going to absolutely smash. And the next step here is the splash trade's huge. You want to get that in there. The next one here, and this is what we're in right now, is roster management. And Snoog, we're trying to trade production. And I got to tell you about some of these trades in Smash 18, because this is where we're at. And I want to get your opinion on each one. We talked about the first one. Do you see any scenario there where AJ Brown, James Cook, Ollie Gordon for a 27 first, which could be late? It's Sean's, Sean Owen, shout out to him. He's the host, and Garrett Wilson. But now I have liquidity and I have a young core asset.
Yeah, exactly. I think the insulated moves are like the best thing you can do on a dynasty rebuilder, right? Like you're getting good assets and draft capital back. Now's a great time to go getting, Luther Burden and some of these rookies that haven't done anything yet, really, just kind of maybe a little bit of flashes or anything. Look at that. Dad,
I already got it, man.
He's one step ahead of the game. I would be pounding the drum for all these guys as well on this list. Like, spot on here. Get it. Like we were saying, Dad, buy Colson Loveland, right? Like Warren, Gadsden, Fannin, these guys are falling out.
Loveland's off this list now because he's not insulated. We had that show where we said, we did this show about 6 months ago. Tedroy McMillan was on this list. Luther Burden, JJ McCarthy. It had Drake May, and you're going to see some Drake May trades here. They're going to blow your mind because Snoog and I were that far out in front of the process. These are the guys that we're trying to get insulated trades. And, I want to run you down a couple of these trades that I made during this rebuild step 4. I gave up Jared Goff and Kyron Williams. Neither of them provide me much value in 2 years. I got Kyler Murray in a mid-27 first. I'm going to flip Kyler. You know what I mean? Luckily, Kyler didn't play this week because I'm just trying to shave points. I'm trying to maximize potential and minimize risk. Next year, the difference between Goff and Murray is not going to be crazy. The difference between Kyron Williams and that 27 first, next year, it's going to be the 27 first. In 2 years, Kyler should be worth more than Goff. The 27 first is clearly going to be worth more than Kyron Williams. And even if Goff, even if Kyler doesn't pan out, we're still there. The next move I make, and I think you're going to love this one, I gave up Terry McLaurin on his week back and Amon-Ra St. Brown for Malik Neighbors in a third. A lot of people say, well, you almost sold Terry McLaurin for a third. I don't care. I'm getting Malik Neighbors, who is 3 years younger than Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I'm shaving off the points. So the difference between Amon-Ra St. Brown and Malik Neighbors over the next 6 weeks is going to be 140 points. So you're shaving that off your roster and you're staying foundational. And a lot of people, Snoog, they do what you were saying is they try to trade Amon-Ra St. Brown and they try to get 3 random assets in a pick. No, you get something elite. You kind of go in that area. Then the next step that I'm like, once this starts happening, I start shaving points like crazy. Then I'm like, yo, Travis Hunter's injured. I gave up Kittle and Jaden Higgins for Travis Hunter in a second. Is Kittle going to help me in 2 years? Probably not. He'll be 34. I'll be able to buy him for that second. Is Jaden Higgins popping off? No. I have no problem trying to tear up from Jaden Higgins. And now I'm just like, I'm in the zone. So the next one, I have DJ Moore. I got Jaden Reed in a second for DJ Moore in a third. Jaden Reed will be back soon. And guess what I'm going to do the minute he's available to play? I'm going to flip him again. And then, these trades just kept flying in. Every single one of them, I'm shaving off 60 to 100 points on my final, points. And I'm moving myself to a spot where I'm going to have a better pick. And when I started this 2 weeks ago, I was 270 points behind the 101. By the time this week is over, I'm going to be 60 points behind the 101. And that's where it really comes down to is, do you want Jeremiah Love? And doing it in a way where I'm not just trading blindly. I'm still getting assets back. What I see people do all the time is they'll trade Javonte Williams for a pair of 28 seconds. Did you win that? No. Trade it.
Site.
And people are asking that about Sam Darnold or these guys that are all Devontae Adams. You and I went back and forth. give me a first or get out of my kitchen. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not giving you that unless you give me a core asset back. And I think trading for these injured players is huge right now, getting these players off your roster. And these guys that I'm trying to move, Snoog, these are the guys right here. I love these players, but they're not going to do you any good in 2 years. You know, like getting off these players. How do you go about when you're trying to trade these guys? Talk to me about your process, because it's not just like, give me a second for Devontae Adams, give me a second for Cortland Sutton. You can't do that. How do you go about selling these guys?
If I have multiple, what I'm doing is I'm going to this is one thing I always do, and I tell people to do this. Never go to the best team in your league. I always go to the middle of the pack team first, because they're the ones most desperate for this production. And that's the best chance that you can get at an early first, right? If you go to the team that's 5-5 or 4-6, that's fighting for the 6th or 7th seed, and you say, I'll give you Devontae Adams and Cortland Sutton for your 27 first and a pair of thirds, they're probably going to be like, you know what? I think those are the two pieces that can put me over the top. Let's do it. If you go to the team that's in first place, 15-1 or whatever, 8-1, or however your league kind of goes about record, if there's a median or not, and says, give me your 27 first, and they have Garrett Wilson, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Jamar Chase, and this elite foundational core, you're probably selling 2 top 24 producers for the 112, which is still, I'm okay doing that, but that's my last resort, right? So I'm going to the middle of the pack teams first, then I'm working up, and that's what I try to do. We're over here in the Smash Accept High Rollers. I just gave you T. Higgins for a 26 first, and you tossed me Tyreek Hill back. I'm hoping that Tyreek Hill, can play again, and I can maybe get a second plus for him. But it's like, I'm fine getting a random 26 first. It's probably going to be 109 to 112, which kind of stinks. But for T, I have that 2-year window. I'm looking for Jeremiah Smith. And to me, it's like T. Higgins at that time, when I'm finally ready to contend, will probably be worth what that pick is going to be. So it was fine. I think it was a win-win for both of us. So I think it's just, and don't be afraid to take Diggs and Kelsey, or, Diggs and Sutton, or Kittle and Sutton, or Kittle and Kelsey, and get a first. Like, I'm always telling people, package up 1 or 2 people. Don't take 2 seconds for Kittle when you can add Sutton and get a first. So that's how I like to do it as well.
And I love that you mentioned going after those middling guys, because the guys at the top, we don't want the late first. We want a random first that really could pan out. And I've done that in years past, where a guy's sitting, he's right there at that fringe area at this point. He's 4-4, he's 5-5, whatever his record is. And he thinks he's going all in. And if he wins it all, that's the 112, right? And he's excited about that because he gets Devontae Adams. Next thing you know, Devontae Adams turns into the 103, and you got Omarion Hampton. And that's how it's done. That's how you win those particular things. You're trying to get off of players like this. You're trying to move those assets. And I always tell people, even to another point, like, we are really trying to create, during step 4, we're trying to create a positional void, right? The 2 easiest positions to add to your team when it comes to actual production is the tight end and the running back. You can always buy a cheap tight end. You can always buy a cheap running back. Running backs tend to, produce at a younger age than wide receivers. So we want to build around core wide receivers. We want to void out at running backs. And Snoog, I mean, this is where I'm trading. I think I did multiple trades with you where I throw in a Michael Carter. I throw in a Bam Knight. I throw in, one of these running backs, get them off my roster, right? So like you wanted, I forget what our deal was, but let's just say in that T. Higgins deal, you wanted to get a player off your team, and you're like, hey, can I throw you Bam Knight? Sure. Let's get him off your team. Let's get that production. I think I threw you Jake Browning before Joe Flacco, right? I didn't want that turd staying on my roster, but you want to have as many backup QBs as possible because you can flip them. You can flip a Jacoby Brissett and a 4th for a 3rd. You can flip a Carson Wentz and a 4th for a 3rd at certain times in the year, but create that void. And if you look at my Smash 18 roster right now, I have 2 running backs on my entire roster, and that is it. And I think that's where you look at, I have Tyler Algier and hold on, I don't even know, and Emmanuel Wilson. And the day, and also I have Blake Corum. So I have 3 running backs on that team.
Yeah.
I don't want anything else. And I actually don't want those guys. I'm just, if Kyron goes down, Corum's worth money. If Emmanuel Wilson takes over Jacobs, he's going to be worth it, but then you look at my IR and it's Burrow, it's Evans, it's Neighbors, it's Reed, it's Travis Hunter, like, load up on these injured players. I cannot stress to the point enough that these are the guys you want. And you can add Jaden Daniels to this list, Snoog, but this is the type of core assets you want to buy. What I really want to hear you talk about right here is buying and Tucker Kraft. I want to hear about how you go about buying these guys, how you would insulate. And then we'll talk a little bit about Amarion Hampton, because a guy like Amarion Hampton or Garrett Wilson, we were buying, but we're almost time to flip again. So let's talk about first hit on Hunter, Neighbors, Burrow, Kraft, Daniels, because they're likely out. Hunter could come back in 4 weeks, but the other guys, they're out for the season. So why are we buying these guys as opposed to just random picks?
Yeah, because what you really want to do is get foundational assets, right? Like at the end of the day, they are really good pieces to get just random draft capital. I'm always a fan of that. I always prefer that over producing players. But these guys are going to get you zeros, right? And that's like what I'm trying to do is if I have an Amon-Ra St. Brown, like what you said earlier in the show, turning them into Neighbors. If I have a Tet McMillan, turn them into Travis Hunter Plus. If I have a Ashton Genty or Quinshon Judkins, turn them into Hampton Plus. If I have a Herbert, a Caleb Williams, one of those guys, turn them into Joe Burrow Plus. And if I have a Kittle, Sam Laporta, Tyler Warren, one of those guys, I'm turning them into Tucker Kraft Plus. And that's what I'm trying to do. It's keep insulating, right? And then when they're back, then you can turn them into exactly. And you'll get some big wins like this one here.
Yeah.
When we were advocating for buying Drake May, is don't be scared to take a little bit of a risk here, right? Even if Drake May ended up being a bust or not being great, turned into a Trevor Lawrence, turned into a Bryce Young dad, you're still getting 105 last year, which was one of, Judkins, Henderson, Ibuka, Warren, any of those guys, and a 27 first that could be a Jeremiah Smith, Cam Coleman, one of these guys, Isaac Brown, the running back, or the Mizzou guy, right? Like you can turn still into two good players, even though you take a loss here, but it's like, take that risk. You need to do it sometimes in rebuilding. And it ended up being an absolute banger of a move here. You got 3 foundational assets potentially for one. These are like the type of moves that can flip your team around and turn it into the next level.
Yeah, and this is I'm trying to pull up this trade show because this was one where you and I had, and this would have been in February. These were our guys that we said we were buying low on. Are you ready for this? All right. So this was this was in May. So this is right after the rookie draft. We were buying low on Travis Hunter, Jackson Dart, JJ McCarthy, Emeka Ibuka, Luther Burden, Dalton Kincaid, Drake May. Like these guys hit. And they hit big. And that's the big thing is during this process, I traded Josh Allen. I love Josh Allen. You know that. But I traded him for Drake May, the 105 and the 27 first. The 105 became Tyler Warren because it's 0.75 tight end premium. This is a banger type deal. Now I have 2 elite level prospects that if I wanted to, Snoog, and I'm building around Drake May. I don't care about the points on a Drake May. But I could take Tyler Warren right now and trade Tyler Warren for Tucker Kraft in a 27 first. I think you can do it. And like that's how you continue to go about, and you buy these guys and you insulate. And for you guys that don't understand what we're talking about when we say insulate is you invest in a product, right? And your product, you have Josh Allen, and Josh Allen is the premium product, right? That is the top-notch thing. So then you want to buy multiple stocks together, but you need one blue chip guy, one guy that you really believe in. And for us, that was Drake May. And in some of these other trades, it's Garrett Wilson, it's Luther Burden. Right now, I'm trying to trade. I want Luther Burden in a 27 first for a guy that's going to win you a championship, like a T. Higgins. You're probably not going to get that. You got to get creative. But this is what you're trying to do, and you're insulating the risk, right? So if Drake May doesn't hit, Snoog alluded to this, you insulate this because the 105 got you Tyler Warren, and then the 27 first, it doesn't hurt as bad. Drake May did hit. Drake May's arguably almost in the same tier as Josh Allen now. So that's why these really pay off when you do it. And we talk about liquidate. The only asset that cannot drop in price is a 2026 first and a 2027 first. We want to have as many firsts as possible. And Snoog, we started to talk about it. Some insulated trade targets. We did this show 2 months ago, and we talked about Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, Tedaroy McMillan, Marvin Harrison Jr. We talked about a lot of these guys that Jackson Dart was on that show before he was a starter. You're like guaranteed value. Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, they haven't all come to fruition, but a majority of them have. And if you did that at that point, what's awesome, right, is if you particularly, and we had Rashee Rice on there because Rashee Rice was not playing. Lad McConkey's a guy that we were buying a couple months ago after 2 or 3 bad starts. CJ Stroud, you could have done this. So let's take that first one where we go back and we see Drake May, right? And you see you got Drake May, you got the 105, you got the 27 first for Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. At this point, you could trade Drake May for, like, if we had done that 2 months ago, you could have got Drake May and 1 to 2 27 first plus Jackson Dart. Now all of a sudden you have Dart 3 firsts and the 105 for Josh Allen. Now you can trade Dart for CJ Stroud plus a first. So now you have CJ Stroud plus 4 firsts. It's a matter of just keep tearing down until you get those guys that you believe in. And we believe in these particular guys. So this is really what we're trying to do. Are there some more insulated trades? This is a list that I just kind of came up generically. But, I mean, these are the guys that I'm trying to get plus a first.
Yeah, I love these here. You can even get even kind of broader and start doing it with guys like Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, some of these guys that could be free agents, could go to new teams and could get big boosts in value, right? I always like to look at talented players that are young enough, below 26, 27, that could have a resurgence in their career because they're on a crap team. Like, look at Josh Jacobs on his last couple of years with the Raiders. He had that crazy year. Then he had a wicked down year. And then he was going to the Packers and everyone was like, oh, 27 years old, going to a new team, usually not a good thing for a running back, all this. And it's like he ended up having back-to-back career years with the Packers in this year and the year before. So it's like Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, some of these guys I really like looking into and not being scared to buy into, right? Like turning some of these players, maybe a James Cook or someone that's balling out right now or an A-Chain and getting Kenneth Walker at 27 first plus. Maybe throw a Burden in there, right? Just selling high and capitalizing on that type of deal.
And that's more of you're not going to get the 101. And that's, we all ultimately want to get the 101. But if you're doing that, you're insulating no matter what. A lot of people come to me and they said, Dad, like right now, I'm not going to get the 101 and I don't have my first. So should I rebuild? The answer is still yes. Like the answer is people are still buying veterans. I mean, like you shouldn't be holding on to a Devontae Adams. You should be flipping him for Torrey Horton in a second. You should be flipping him for RJ Harvey straight up, which is kind of disappearing now. But you should be looking to get younger. You should be looking to still insulate and make these moves. And I think Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne are great examples because even Breece Hall, those guys will be on new teams next year. It looks like all 3 of them are going to get a new location. And that really sets it up for the last one here, the part that you and I really thrive on. And if you look at our receipts, you look at the hits are much bigger than what the misses are. Last year we just did our rookie class redo. You guys should check that out. It's literally outside of, a couple guys here and there, Caleb Johnson disappearing. It's pretty on point. It's still the same kind of guys. We were still saying draft Oronde Gadsden, but not in the first round. Now he's blown up. But step 6 is your rookie draft prep. And in February, we were so excited for the season. And now that we're in November, I'm starting to get excited about rookie season again because we do the research. We talk about the tiers that we want to get into. You join the Discord through Patreon, and Snoog, guys in there have shared, like, they have literally turned their teams around because you told them to take Igbuka at the 106. And I was telling them to take Warren at the 108. And we were advocating moving around, taking yourself wherever you were supposed to get Cam Ward to tier back to 112 to 201 and get Jackson Dart. And those kind of things, literally for $5 a month, turn you into a absolute contender where you start to feed families, right? Like if you traded the 104 when that guy really wanted Cam Ward for a 27 first plus the 202 and got Jackson Dart, look at how big that swing is. Like you can't even, if you came to me today and you offered me Cam Ward in a first for Jackson Dart, I'd tell you to get the hell out of here. I'm not doing it. And he's approaching 2.5 firsts already. And that's where we discussed getting him. We discussed getting Cam Scatabo, and you had an opportunity to flip there. I should have put Scatabo on that injured list because he's another one on there. But you nailed the rookie draft. You nailed the rookie guide this year. It's just part of that process, that smash accept rebuild process that puts you over the top. Is some guys come into the Discord and they share their draft and they show me all their Jonathan Mingos and their Quentin Johnston's before he was a bust. And, like all these, and I'm like, we didn't draft any of these guys. Like we were not telling you to draft Cam Ward. We were not telling you to draft a lot of these prospects that just have totally tanked. I didn't take a single share. You didn't take a single share. It's a matter of just knowing how to manipulate the market and move. And now we're in that rebuild time. So now I think, now we're starting to look at next year's rookies.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me is just don't be afraid to go up against the consensus and like kind of put like, if you feel confident in a player, like don't be scared to, turn Genty or turn Tet McMillan or turn Amari Hampton into someone that is further down the board, like an Ibuka, like a Judkins, like a Tyler Warren, like some of these other guys, and get 27 first plus or, a pair first on top to move back to the 110. Like, there's a damn good chance that pick's going to be equal to the guy at the top, right? Like, especially in a class like the 27. So it's like time and time again, like the market automatically creates these values that are only values because that's what everyone thinks is the right value, right? Like just because everyone thinks Genty and Emeka Ibuka 2 firsts apart pre-draft, that doesn't mean they are, right? Like, so that's where you can really take advantage of capitalizing on moves like that. And I ended up I had the 102. I was like, I don't want to take Hunter. I don't want to take Hampton. I don't want to take Tet. I don't know who the frick to take. So I'm going to turn it into the 106 and 108. And I got Emeka Ibuka and Quinshon Judkins. And it's like, wow, that was a risk probably at the time. But it's like, I felt like they were all on the same level, talent-wise, prospect-wise. I know, Judkins was on the Browns, wasn't the best situation with the suspension. But it's like making those type of moves can really make and uplift your team and take you to the next level. And you have to do that in all rookie drafts. Like, don't be scared to move around and get accumulated picks on top.
And give yourself a Christmas present right now. Christmas is right around the corner. Daylight savings. I woke up and I'm like, yo, what time is it? Yo, it's game day, but I feel like I got an extra hour. We're going to pass those savings on to you. Day 25 on patreon.com. We'll get you 25% off your yearly sub. Snoog, if you sign up now, now's the best time. Because if you're a contender, we're going to help you get over the top. If you're a rebuilder, we're going to help you get to the 101. And we're going to be there the entire process. If you're newer to Dynasty and this is your first time in a league, the offseason is not an offseason. That's our time to grind. That's where Snoog and I make our money every single year. That's where we show you guys where you can make the extra money in fantasy football. We show you where those players are. And if you look at some of these things, I mean, 2 years ago or a year and a half ago in February, we were telling you to buy Drake May for a first. We were telling you to buy Rashee Rice. We were telling you to buy Brian Thomas Jr. All these guys. And now you're reaping the rewards. And now we're telling you to do it again. Code DAY25 gets you 25% off. Again, that is over at patreon.com/smashaccept. Snoog's rankings, my rankings, values, value tiers, literally everything you need, plus a community now of over 900 people in there that are talking shop all the time. You can talk about trades. You can talk about whatever you want in there. Really the best deal when it comes to fantasy football. So this is our rebuild process. Snoog and I do rebuild assistance in the Discord. We do it on Twitter. We do it on YouTube. Hit us up. He's at FF Snoog. I'm at Dynasty Dad FF. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and enjoy the process. I just love to read.